I hope cadets are doing well. This is our second period of instruction on leadership principles. In our previous discussions, we talked about leadership principles 1 through 6. Today, we're going to discuss 7 through 11. The purpose of this period of instruction is to provide you examples of all 11 leadership principles. I'm hopeful that by the end of this period of instruction that you'll be able to describe and provide an example of the 11 leadership principles and explain how the 11 leadership principles apply here in the ROTC program, and most importantly, how the 11 leadership principles will promote effective leadership, not just within our program, but as we've spoken about leadership on the regular, we want you to understand how these leadership principles, the leadership traits, and all things leadership ROTC will help you in the real world. So we should be familiar with the inner workings of the leadership principles from the previous leadership principles class. So let's jump right in, feet first, to 7 through 11. As mentioned before, the leadership principles are qualities of thought and action, which if you demonstrate them in your daily activities, are going to help you earn the respect, the confidence, and loyal cooperation of other cadets. As mentioned, it's extremely important that you understand the meaning of each leadership principle and how to develop it. We talk and we talk and we talk about leadership principles. We talk about leadership traits. But the goal is to learn how to develop it so that you can set goals for yourself in order to become a better leader. Before you become a better leader, you got to become a good follower. Like in the real Marine Corps, ROTC loves them some acronyms. Anything and everything that we can use in order to memorize things and make our lives easier, we will do so. So let's refresh ourselves on what the leadership principles acronym is. KK, be Mets kids. KK, be Mets kids. K, know your subordinates. K, keep your subordinates informed. B, be technically and tactically proficient. M, make sound and timely decisions. E, employ your command, or cadets, if you will, in accordance with their capabilities. T, train your subordinates as a team. S, seek responsibility and take responsibility. K, know yourself and seek self-improvement. I, ensure the task is understood, supervised, and accomplished. Develop a sense of responsibility among your subordinates. And S, set the example. Set the example, set the example, set the example. Not just with your words, but with your actions. In corporate America, in the business world, a lot of times you are judged and your performance is measured based on your own ability and your individual contributions. That's not the case in the military, especially in the Marine Corps. And I'll tell you, that's not the case here in ROTC. Everything that we do is built around a team effort. You could take the sports team analogy. There's no I in team. I got it. But if there was an I, it would be the initiative necessary as a leader to train your subordinates as a team, to train your Marines as a team, to train your cadets as a team. In the Marine Corps, there are countless jobs that it just physically takes more than one person to do it. If you're a machine gunner, you as the machine gunner might know everything there is to know about that weapon, but you can't employ that weapon without an assistant gunner and without an ammo man. It takes 3. If you are an artilleryman, like I was, it takes between 7 to 10 human beings to properly and effectively employ that howitzer to shoot 100-pound rounds 20 miles away to blow up the bad guys for the good guys calling in that fire. As it relates to physical training, there is not just an individual effort. When we're conducting physical training, we have to train as a team because it's going to take that entire unit of individuals to cross that finish line together in order to accomplish that mission, especially if we're talking about in a combat zone. I need every human being physically fit. But here in the cadet world, it's just as important to train as a team. It's going to build morale. It's going to build esprit de corps or spirit of the corps, and it's going to make you capable of rubbing off onto one another. The good things and the good qualities are going to rub off from one cadet to the other if you're training your cadet corps as a team. This is not an individual effort. There are times like testing and academics and things like that, where when you go to take the test, it's individual effort. But you should be building a team in order to prepare everyone, not just for the physical rigors of this program, but the academic rigors as well. Here's the reality. In today's society, we have become a very introverted community. We have become a society that is very selfish and looks inward. What we try to promote here in ROTC is quite the opposite. We want you to develop a sense of teamwork. We want you to develop a sense of effective communication. We want you to understand that teamwork is a give and take situation where individuals give their best to the unit. It doesn't always have to be a giving of oneself in order to reap the benefits. It is a giving of oneself in order to ensure the unit and other people benefit from what you can provide. In turn, the unit provides individuals with security, recognition, and a sense of accomplishment. This is a very, very close tie-in to the way we do business here in ROTC. If you give of yourself to others and make the unit better today than it was yesterday, by default, we as a program, your fellow cadets as leaders, and you all as a unit will naturally provide that individual, or we all will provide you, the individual, with security, and we will make sure that you're recognized. And through it all, you're going to gain a sense of accomplishment. We want you to understand that teamwork doesn't just apply here to ROTC. It doesn't just apply here when you're dealing with other cadets. We want you to develop a sense of training as a team in the classroom, out of the classroom, in ROTC classroom, and to help each other in other walks of life within the program of the school, whether it is on a sports team or the drill team, or whether it is in math class. Even the most difficult tasks will become easier when teamwork is evident. As a leader, it is your responsibility to develop teamwork, that mindset amongst your subordinates. You can't just walk in a room and be like, oh, I'm a corporal, I'm in charge, everybody's got to work as a team. You have to develop that mindset amongst your subordinates. So how do we go about doing that? Well, you've got to train your cadets. You've got to challenge your cadets. You've got to test them. You've got to correct them. You can't let them get away with murder, but you've got to encourage them as an individual, but you've got to encourage them to work as a unit. If you are working on your uniforms, why not give someone a call and get on a Zoom meeting or face chat or meet together somewhere, have them come over your house, or we're even willing to open up the classroom in order to train your cadets on what you already know. Just because you're good at putting things together and preparing for a uniform inspection and you roll out the door with a 100 doesn't mean you're building your cadets as a team. It doesn't mean you're training them as a team. They need to know what you know. Challenging them, getting them out of their comfort zone, calling them out and making them come with you to run PT on a weekend or to run one of our 5Ks or a Spartan race or things like that. Holding them accountable for testing. Just because you know all of what you need to know to pass your academic tests or your knowledge knockouts in class doesn't mean that they do. You have to find time in RTI or on the weekends, before school, after school, in order to make sure that they know what they know. The only way to do that is to actually test them. You got to make sure you're correcting them, and you have to encourage them. The hard work and strengths of a unit will reduce problems and is one of the best ways to develop teamwork, morale, and esprit de corps. Spirit of the corps. Esprit de corps. To further develop teamwork, emphasize the buddy system and encourage unit participation in recreational and school events. Get them out of there. A lot of cadets are perfectly comfortable staying in their comfort zone, not taking down those blinders and having an open dialogue with another cadet. A lot of them are perfectly fine showing up from bell to bell and doing the bare minimum. That's not going to help your team develop. That's going to continue to leave them as individuals. The next principle we're going to talk about is your responsibility as a leader to make sound and timely decisions. Too many times when asked to accomplish a mission, we spin our wheels and we waste a lot of time overthinking things. As a leader, you've got to be able to rapidly evaluate, taking a look around and evaluating the situation in order to make an accurate or as close to an accurate decision based on that evaluation. What do I know about what needs to happen, and how do I make it happen as quickly as possible? The steps for making sound and timely decisions are to plan for most situations, making sure you understand what your schedule is, making sure you know what the classroom and ROTC's whole schedule are, making sure that you're announcing your decisions very quickly in order to allow your subordinates to be prepared. You got to consider advice and suggestions. You got to make sure that those that are around you are able, that you allow them, I should say, to offer up advice and suggestions. Just because you think you're all that in a bag of chips doesn't mean you've got the best plan. So if time permits, take their advice and take their suggestions, because they might have a quicker, more effective way of accomplishing that mission. Most importantly, you need to act. Act. Don't spend 90% of your time trying to come up with a 100% solution, because that's going to leave you with no time to get it done. We in the Marine Corps, on a hurry and in a fly, are quick to act on a 70% solution vice waiting to develop that 100% solution. Now, if I have the time to come up with that 100% solution, then I will. I'm going to adjust my plans accordingly on that 70% solution, and then I'm going to improvise and I'm going to adapt and overcome. At least I've got me and my cadets on the right path, and the mission is starting to be accomplished. And then that other 30%, I can adjust it as I see fit along the way. As a senior leader, it is sometimes difficult to give up some of the responsibility and to loosen the reins a little bit and to delegate some of your authority. As a leader, we want to be there all the time, doing everything ourselves, leading everybody ourselves. But in order to develop a sense of responsibility among your subordinates, you do have to back off a little bit. A way to do that is to show your subordinates that you're interested in their welfare by giving them the opportunity for development and leadership themselves. You want to assign them tasks and delegate your authority to promote mutual confidence and respect between the leader and the subordinate. It's also going to encourage your subordinate to exercise their own initiative and to give wholehearted cooperation in the accomplishment of that mission. They're going to have buy-in. When they are a part of the decision-making process, they're going to feel responsible for the success or the failure of that mission. When you properly delegate authority, you're going to demonstrate that you have faith in them, and it's going to increase their own authority and increase their desire for greater responsibilities. The want to see the mission accomplishment, the seeds will be planted right there. You can take a step back and you can kind of observe from a distance. And in the end, if it fails, it's your fault. But if it's successful, then it is just as much, probably more so, theirs ownership as it is yours. And you need to make sure you recognize that. You can develop a mutual respect and confidence between you and your subordinate leaders by assigning them tasks and delegating your authority. All right, like I said once, I'm going to say it 1,000 times. You can delegate authority, but you can't delegate responsibility. In the end, when the mission is or is not accomplished, if it's not accomplished, I'm blaming you, the staff sergeant. I'm not going to blame that corporal who you were in charge of. But if it's successful, then you and I both better make sure we recognize that young corporal who had a instrumental hand in the success of that mission. When you're delegating authority, you're going to show your faith in your unit leaders, your smaller unit leaders. And like I said earlier, it's going to increase their desire for greater responsibility. When they have buy-in, when they feel like they're a part of the team, when they feel like their middle management leadership contributes, then they're going to want more responsibility. They're going to want more opportunities to lead in the future. As a leader, we're not going to be the guy or gal who's going to stand up on a podium or a stage and reap all the glory for the successes of that mission. Now, if it's a failure, oh yeah, we have ownership. All right, you can delegate authority, but you can't delegate responsibility. In the end, though, you want to make sure that you are consistently recognizing your subordinates' accomplishments when they are demonstrating their own responsibility, when they are becoming resourceful, and when they're demonstrating their own initiative to get that job done or that task that was assigned completed. By developing a sense of responsibility and by recognizing their accomplishments, it goes back to what I keep repeating, the want. They are going to want to take initiative again in the future. They're going to want to demonstrate more responsibility. They're going to have more ownership. But on the same token, if you're delegating your authority and those subordinate leaders goon it up, or the subordinates themselves goon it up, you want to make sure you're correcting those errors of your subordinate leaders in private. It says never, but I'm going to tell you, honestly, sometimes there is absolutely a place in a militant structure for you to make public corrections. It does happen more often than not. But if I am a staff sergeant and I assign one of my corporals to get something done and they completely goon it up, I'm not going to blast that corporal for gooning it up in front of his privates, PSCs, and lance corporals. Why? Because if I do that, I take away their credibility. And then the next time I assign that corporal a task or a job to get done, his or her subordinates, they're not going to listen to him. The lance corporals and below are going to be like, whatever, dude, screw you. Staff Sergeant Clark said you're a piece of garbage, and I don't have to listen to you because you just completely gooned it up. You don't want that to happen. You want to make sure that you fix whatever needs to get fixed, correct whatever needs to get correct, and educate that young corporal so that the next time that you do place them in charge, that they continue to develop a sense of responsibility. They will learn and they'll develop a sense of responsibility from their mistakes just as much as they will their successes. But you don't want to make those public corrections if you assign somebody a task and they goon it up if their subordinates around, because the next time around that you assign that corporal a job, those subordinates are going to be less likely to listen to them. Just because you've got God-given ability, just because you have certain aspects of leadership that come natural to you, does not make you a good leader. The ability that you have in your leadership, it's important. Don't get me wrong. But your ability to look at others and see whether or not they are capable and help them if they're not, the ability to discover ability in others and then to help them develop it is the true test of a leader. You might be great at drill, at physical training, at academics, at your job, whatever, wearing your uniform. But if you are not helping others out and helping them develop their own leadership, then you're definitely failing as a leader, because you need to make sure that the day you leave the program, the day that you're absent, that you have sought out and discovered the ability in others and train them and help them develop so that the day you're gone, they step up to the plate and hit a home run. Your leadership is judged more by how your subordinates perform without you there leading them than it is with you there doing everything for them or micromanaging or looking over their shoulder. Here's a leadership principle that's often overlooked and is sometimes not taken into consideration when leading your cadets. And I got to be honest, sometimes Marine units are guilty of this as well. And that's to employ your command or your unit or your cadets or your Marines. Pick one and implement it there. Employ your command in accordance with its capabilities. Now, I don't necessarily mean with what it's actually capable of doing right now. We're going to talk about how to determine what they're capable of now and then push them beyond their current capabilities and train them to a new and higher standard. Employing your command in accordance with its capabilities doesn't mean that you get to quit or give up or not accept a mission because at this very moment you just can't do it or you're not physically able of doing it. You're going to have to figure out ways to get capable in order to accomplish different and new missions. Your unit cannot complete tasks for which it has not been trained. Here in the ROTC cadet world, let's talk about uniform inspections. Can you expect a cadet who's never laced a set of boots or put on a set of chevrons before to stand an inspection and get a 100 if they've never been trained on how to do that? No, you can't. We have to train to a standard to be capable of doing something and then move beyond it and then raise those standards. I can't expect an LE1 who's never picked up a flag before in their life to just be told to run to the front of the school and conduct morning colors. And you should not be telling these kids to do anything that they're not capable of doing based on whether or not be trained. Physically capable, having the mental faculties to do it, that's one thing. But knowing that they are capable of doing it doesn't necessarily mean they know how. It doesn't necessarily mean that they were trained to do it. Failure causes a loss of morale. So if you're sending a kid to the front to do colors, or you're trying to get a young man or woman, a junior cadet, to accomplish a left flank or to teach a class themselves, but you haven't taught them how to do it, when, not if, when they fail, they're going to feel like a hot bag of garbage. They're going to be personally and professionally developed. And here's the deal. If you as the leader haven't trained them to do it and then they fall on their face, let's say they volunteered to do it and then they just butcher it and then everybody makes a point to remind them that they butchered it, they're less likely to volunteer in the future. And you don't want that. As a leader, you should avoid assigning tasks that are beyond the unit's capabilities. So in a Marine world, I'm not going to ask a infantry unit to walk into an administrative office and be able to complete a service record book for an individual, or to do pay and entitlements, or to be able to complete awards and submit them onto the Marines' records. They don't know how to do that. They know how to shoot people in the face. They know how to blow stuff up, but they might not even know how to turn on a computer. So you're not going to ask them to do something that's beyond their capabilities unless you train them to do it. Conversely, I'm not going to take a Marine aviation squadron and without training them, put them on the ground with the infantrymen and expect them to know what they're doing. I'm not going to ask your team to climb Mount Everest if they're not mountain climbers. I'm also not going to ask them, and I'm not going to employ my command unless I've given them all the equipment that they need to perform it. If I give a Marine unit the mission to go out to a training area and set up a bivouac, but at no time did I ever issue them an e-tool shovel, a flashlight, a tent, cold weather gear, MREs to eat, etc., then I can't expect them to complete that mission because it's not within their capabilities, because I, as a leader, didn't equip them to be able to do that job. Now, let's say I did train that unit to a standard. Let's say I did have a unit that became very, very capable of completing their job. Well, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to up the ante and I'm going to raise that bar. I want to avoid giving them routine, mundane, trivial tasks that I know for a fact they've already accomplished a bazillion times that doesn't mentally, professionally, or physically challenge them. I want to challenge, train, and push my team beyond its current capabilities to develop those higher standards so that they become more capable. And in the end, what that's going to do is that's going to mold them, shape them, and build them into small unit leaders so that when I either move out of that unit, die, or retire, whichever one of those happens, that they're able to step up to the plate and set those same standards for their subordinate Marines, soldiers, sailors, airmen, or in your case, cadets. Oh, man. This is a leadership principle that young people have one of the hardest times to develop. This leadership principle, seek responsibility and take responsibility for your actions, is very, very hard because as young people, we are very, very quick to blame someone or something else for our failures. We're very quick. very quick to accept the award and reap the benefits of all of the good things that went right, that our cadets and our subordinates were doing right. But we are very, very quick to pass that buck to someone else when something goes wrong. You're responsible for seeking out challenging assignments to develop yourself professionally. We are sometimes lazy. Human nature takes over. And unless the classroom instruction, unless the physical training, unless the drill and ceremonies, unless the academics in and out of our classroom are forced down our throat, we're not willing sometimes as human beings, as young cadets, to actively seek something that's challenging. We're quick to shy away from joining the physical training team or the drill team or the rifle team. We're very quick to avoid being assigned to a color guard or to a voluntary duty or to a working party assignment where I might be able to interact with a senior cadet and learn something. We want to stay in our little protective bubble and not seek a challenging assignment because we're scared of failure. It's okay to fail. I have learned, because I'm a big knuckle-dragging goofball, more from my failures, and there's plenty of them, than I did ever from what I did right. You're responsible for all that your unit does or fails to do. This goes back to my opening statement as it relates to seek responsibility and take responsibility for your actions. When I say take responsibility for your actions, I mean yours and every other person under your charge. If little cadet Johnny Clark fails to complete his assignment on time, then that's your fault. But I told him. Look, there's a difference between telling somebody to do something and making them do it. You're responsible for all that your unit does and fails to do. Regardless of the actions of your subordinates, the responsibility for the decisions and their application falls on you. I've said it in previous slides. You can delegate authority, but you will never, and I mean ever, be able to delegate responsibility. It just doesn't work like that. When you're leading your cadets, when you issue an order, that is your order. That is your command. That is your doctrine. That is your policy. That is your procedure that you are to enforce employment of. Never should you issue an order and preface it with, "Hey guys, listen, I know this is dumb and y'all feel stupid doing it, but Sergeant Major said." No, you said. Now, did the order probably come from the cadet leadership? Yeah, probably. But that's not for the cadets that are subordinate to you to worry about. It's your policy. It's your order. You issue it in your own name. Never use your commander or your senior enlisted's name in vain. That is a big, big no-no. What you do is that you instantly, by saying that, "Well, I think this is dumb too, guys, but we got to do it." Look, you lose all credibility. And then what you're doing is you're diminishing the severity of that order and how serious it is and whether it is important or not. If you preface it with the fact that you don't think it's important or you think it's stupid, then A, your subordinates will immediately adopt that mindset. B, it's either going to get done or it's only going to get done halfway because they're not going to put their heart and soul into the accomplishment of that mission because, "Well, this is dumb, but we got to do it anyway." No, I ain't hearing that. You know what I'm going to hear? I'm going to hear the door slam in your face after you have walked out of my office because you're fired. In the absence of your orders, you got to take initiative to perform the actions your seniors would direct you to do if they were present. Initiative. That sounds familiar. I think that's one of our leadership traits. Anyway, you want to make sure that you're taking the initiative if you know something needs to get done. Regardless of whether you're being told to do it or not, every single day, if it's a Monday through Friday task and it's Thursday and nobody tells you to do it, and you know it has to get done, in the absence of those orders, take the initiative to get it done. If you know that you got things to prepare your squad for, don't wait for your senior leaders to tell you to do it. You know you got to do it. So take the initiative to do so. Seek responsibility. That's where it comes from. Seeking that responsibility. Never blame your subordinates. Never blame your parents. Never blame a teacher for your failures or the failures of your subordinates. You will take responsibility for your own actions. Never should I hear when you roll up for a uniform inspection and you've got a giant week's worth of hair. Well, my dad. Nope, your dad, nothing. You got a razor, you got shaving cream, take it all off. Ain't no reason why you are going to blame your parents, but I don't have my license. I don't care. You got 2 feet, get to hoofing it. You don't ever get to blame your parents. You don't ever get to blame a teacher, and you don't ever get to blame your subordinates. You and you alone accept responsibility for your actions. And if you're in a leadership position, you accept the actions and you are responsible for the actions of your subordinates. That is leadership 101. That is being a big boy. That's being a big girl 101. That's moving from the childhood mindset into the adult workplace mindset 101. Seek responsibility and take responsibility of your actions is the last leadership principle we're going to discuss today. So here we are ending up in the same spot that we started with, and that's the acronym to memorize our leadership principles. In the previous class, we got the first half. In this class, we got the last half. So let's go back, let's rewind, and let's recap our leadership principle acronym. KKB Mets Kids. I don't know who KK is. I don't know if her last initial is B. I just assume it's a female. KK sounds like a girl's initials. I don't know. Mets Kids. I don't know if she's taking them to a Mets game. No idea. But here we go. K, know your subordinates. K, keep your subordinates informed. B, be technically and tactically proficient. M, make sound and timely decisions. E, employ your command in accordance with its capabilities. T, train your subordinates as a team. S, seek responsibility and take responsibility. K, know yourself and seek self-improvement. I, ensure the task is understood, supervised, and that it's actually accomplished. D, develop a sense of responsibility among your subordinates. S, set the example. Set the example in everything that you do. You will set the example more by your actions or lack thereof than by anything you will ever say to another human being. Not to be confused with our leadership principles, here is our leadership traits acronym, because our traits and principles tie directly into one another. So it's a good thing, not just to recap KKB Mets Kids, but JJ did tie buckle. I don't know who JJ is. I'm assuming this one's a boy. KK was a girl. JJ's a boy, I guess. Did tie buckle. I have no idea how a human being can actually tie a buckle, but hey, whatever. J, justice. J, judgment. D, dependability. I, integrity. D, decisiveness. T, tact. I, initiative. E, endurance. B, bearing. U, unselfishness. C, courage. K, knowledge. L, loyalty. And E, enthusiasm. In closing, what I've hoped you've taken away from this period of instruction is how your leadership principles classes tie into your leadership traits classes, and how if you not only just memorize these, but if you are able to take these and start to develop them and employ them, not just within your ROTC career, not just within your high school career, but in your daily lives, I promise you that you will see tangible results, especially when you get into the workforce, when you start turning 15, 16, 17 years old, and you're getting out into the real world, I promise you, development and implementation of your leadership traits and principles, not only figuratively, but literally will make you money. I appreciate your time. Semper Fidelis, hoorah, and a yut yut to you.